What's going
What's
on, all
going
you
on?
wild ghouls out there? The two favorite Halloween uncles back here for Cinephellas. I am Logan Myers. That's my good mate over there.
And I'm Henry Hill, and we are back tonight to celebrate another edition of the 31 Days of Horror. Tonight, we are joined by Uncle Stephen King in one of his film adaptations from one of his novels that he wrote. This one we are talking about was directed by Frank Darabont. It was made back in 2007. It starred Thomas Jane. We're talking about The Mist.
See what the monsters can be.
What are you guys messing with up there?
I thought there were other dimensions. They wanted to try and make a window.
Well, maybe your window turned out to be a door.
Who she's gonna sacrifice to make it all better?
We want the board.
You try it.
Kill him!
That's right. These two wild ghouls are back for more 31 Days of Horror. Of course, each Halloween we always like to talk about Stephen King, adapted into a film. Going back to the classics, of course, some of the newer ones as well. But I remember this came out in 2007. I remember seeing this in the theater. It was like a lot of hype behind this movie coming out. Thomas Jane, it was a big name back then, but of course, it had a bunch of people from the original Walking Dead back when the show was good.
It reminded me a lot of John Carpenter's The Fog, that kind of thing where, one night it kind of descends upon the town as it does in this movie. The thing that really stood out for me in this film was the setting. You don't see a lot of films, set only in a grocery store, and that's where a lot of this film takes place. Kind of them hold up in this supermarket, which is great for them. There's a lot of food and beverages and everything, so that's a great place to be. But there's also big glass doors, easy for the creatures to get in, and that's what ends up happening. There's these alien creatures like the one behind you, Logan, that's shown there. But as the film goes on, you find out that it was from this military experiment, basically, where all these creatures were basically summoned from. It went wrong, and now they're descending upon this town. And Thomas Jane is there along with his family, and he has to kind of protect them and keep them alive. And like you mentioned, yeah, this is back at the time where Thomas Jane was also the Punisher, and he went on to do an HBO show, Hung. So his career was he was at the top of his game back then. So he was the star of this. And from what I remember from this movie, he did a really great job as the lead here. The protective father having to defend his family. And looking back on this is kind of what generated, and where movies like The Quiet Place and Stranger Things, there were obviously some influence from this movie and from Stephen King's book.
Yeah, that book came out in 1982, so it was a while ago. So finally adapted to the big screen was, pretty good. 2007 had a lot of big name films coming out. I remember Dead Silence, James Wan, one of my favorite and probably one of the most underrated movies out there, came out the same year. Into the Wild, the number 23, Jim Carrey. So it was a big year for movies, and this coming out and seeing it in the theater and rewatching it all these years later is pretty interesting. A lot of the CGI hasn't aged very well in this movie. Of course, 2007 technology is a little different, but yeah, the one thing that kind of drew me out of the movie was the monsters showing up in the CGI look completely fake. But what really sells this movie are the actors and actresses and the characters. A lot of butting heads, different personalities, and this, stuck in this grocery store, and introducing Mrs. Carmody's character, played by Marcia Gay Harden, more the religious type, and Amanda, and Toby Jones shows up. He plays Ollie. William Sadler, love that actor. He plays Jim in this. There's just a ton of people that show up. Sam Whitmore, you were talking about earlier. He's like the young army guy. But early on in the film, Thomas Jane, he started noticing all this, army trucks and stuff driving through town more than usual. So something was off, and then he ends up making it to the grocery store and gets stuck there with a bunch of people because shit hits the fan.
Shit hits the fan, and as with all of Stephen King's books, there's some supernatural or alien or some sort of monster. And like you mentioned too, Maine plays a big part in all of his novels, and The Mist is no different here. So we get that setting. This one, I remember back in the day, after the ending of this film, that was what, stood the test of time with this movie more than anything, more than the performances, more than the bad CGI looking back, but the ending, just the shocking ending that a lot of people who, especially who hadn't read the book before and didn't know what was coming at the end of the film, was just a shocking ending. And I hadn't read the book back then. So I remember seeing that at the end, just this heartbreaking scene involving Thomas Jane and, seeing some military people rolling into town.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most shocking endings I've seen as of late. I forgot about that. I haven't watched this movie since it came out. The whole ending just rips your heart out, and then you're like, oh my God. So that was definitely one of the best parts of the movie, how it goes out. So it's really all for nothing, essentially, what they go through and all the issues they deal with surviving, a lot of people dying along the way, um, fights breaking out within the grocery stores.
Yeah, you can definitely see all the hallmarks, especially with it being directed by Frank Darabont, who went on to direct The Walking Dead, like you mentioned. You can see all the same elements that we saw in that kind of survival horror show that The Walking Dead was. You can see in this movie all the different personalities, like you mentioned, clashing, people with different ideas, people with different religions. It really deals with a lot of that. And you could see that, Frank Darabont was obviously did a good job in this movie. So you could see how he went on to direct The Walking Dead, which dealt with a lot of the same kind of material, especially the human drama. So overall, that being said, with The Mist here, not one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, not one of my favorite books from him either. The CGI doesn't look great anymore, especially since we've gotten a lot more, alien monster invasion movies where the monsters look really awesome. Stranger Things, Quiet Place. What I can remember, the ending really stood the test of time here. It's still memorable. And all the cast did a great job. Thomas Jane, this is one of his bigger films. You don't really see too much from him nowadays. So it was good going back and revisiting this role for him. So overall, not the greatest adaptation, but I still had a pretty good time with it. Frank Darabont, he showed what he could do with the human drama aspect and all that. So with that being said, I'm going to give Frank Darabont's The Mist. I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5 Frank Darabont hair pieces.
Don't forget the Shawshank Redemption, Frank Darabont.
Of course. Yes.
The best one. But yeah, him directing this, so it makes sense with a lot of the, actors, actresses in this film end up showing up in The Walking Dead. I didn't really enjoy this as much this time around compared to the first time. Didn't age well for me. The CGI just didn't work for me. The characters make this movie work, and the ending is about it, but very similar to other films. Of course, The Fog being one of my favorites. Thomas Jane, main actor here, he was really good, and the rest of the cast was the best part of the movie in the ending. So with that being said, I'm going to give The Mist from 2007. I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5 Thomas Jane hair pieces. So I want to hear from all you wild Stephen King enthusiasts out there. What's your favorite adaptation? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, check out these wild uncles on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV, movie news, and reviews.
We hope you guys are enjoying the 31 Days of Horror as much as we are. This is our favorite month of the year, of course, leading up into Halloween. We're binge watching all the horror movies and TV shows that we can, overloading our brains to the maximum capacity with gore, aliens, monsters, everything you can think of. So we're having a blast. We want to hear what you guys are watching too. Let us know your go-to Halloween movies this time of year. Spooky season is upon us, and we want to know what you guys are watching. As always, you guys are welcome to, throw movies that you want to see us review, maybe something we haven't talked about or don't really know about. We're open to suggestions too. So please let us know. Thank you guys so much for watching our review of The Mist, and we will be back tomorrow with another 31 Days of Horror video. So until then, I'm Uncle Henry Hill.
And I'm Uncle William Sadler, signing out until the next movie review for 31 Days of Horror and Horrors. Cheers!